and welcome back to my channel. Just as a quick disclaimer before I start anything at all, I have a cold. I'm coming out the end of it, so my voice may sound a little bit weird at the minute. That is the reason why. My throat is sore, I have a cough, haven't got the dreaded C word. I've done many a test and they're all negative. And obviously being pregnant, you can't take any proper medication. Yes, so that is my quick disclaimer. If my voice sounds weird, that is why. But anyway, I just wanted to quickly get this video filmed because otherwise I'll forget everything I have planned to say. This video is going to be 10, I think it's 10, it might be less, it might be more, but about 10 tips for Disneyland with a toddler. I am no expert. I went to Disneyland Paris mid-February. We were only there for literally 2 nights and 2-ish days. I've got vlogs up, you can watch those if you wanted to. I'll link them down below as well. And yeah, so I'm no expert, but for my couple of days there, I picked up a few tips that I'll be taking with me next time I go to Disneyland, and I thought they'd be useful to share with you. If you're new around here, hello, my name is Caroline. I am pregnant and I also have a 2-year-old son named Ellis. And he was 2.5 when we went to Disneyland in February. So that is where my tips and advice is coming from. My only advice is from my one child. So I have written them down on my phone, but I wrote them as I was there and on the train ride home, because I was like, this is a tip that I need to remember to share with everyone, because it's important to make sure that everyone going to Disneyland Paris, actually might work in all Disney parks, but this is just from my experience in Disneyland Paris. It's good for everyone to be on the same page, because when you have a toddler or more children, if you ever went just as, you know, an adult to then going with a toddler, it's a big difference. So yes, I thought it would be important to share my learnings and my I say wisdom, but it's not wisdom, it's just literally things I picked up which I think will make life easier for people in the future. So without further ado, tip number 1. Who told me this tip? Oh, it was Emily Norris, the vlogger Emily Norris. She went to Disneyland Paris many moons ago, and I watched her vlogs before I went. And one of the tips she said, which was a game changer, highly recommend, is to eat your meals earlier than the majority of people. So I'm saying go for lunch at 11, 11:30, go for dinner at like, I don't know, 4:30, 5, whatever it is, eat earlier than your usual dinner time, and also the usual for everyone else in the world, because it gets busy. When we first arrived at Disneyland, we were headed to Disneyland Park. We got there late. Watch my vlogs if you want to see all the drama that happened. But we got there later than I expected, and so we were like, well, let's just get straight to the parks now. The sun is still out. We want to get and experience Disney as much as possible. As we were walking down, I think it was like, I don't know, maybe like 4:30-ish, we were like, you know what, kind of hungry. We went into the Rainforest Cafe and we had our dinner. It was served quite quickly, and yeah, and it was great. And so we left, and it was a lot. I think it was about maybe, I don't know, maybe 6 o'clock by the time we left, because Ellis wanted to go see all the animals and things inside the Rainforest Cafe. And so we did all that. By the time we left, it was about 6 o'clock, and there was a queue coming out to the back of the Rainforest Cafe. And I was just like, thank goodness we went in when we did, because if we were waiting in that queue, Ellis would be hangry, screaming. Yeah, he just would just eat meals earlier. That's my number 1 tip. Eat all your meals earlier. Doesn't matter if it seems a bit weird to be having lunch at like 11 o'clock. Do it. It will make things smoother. No queuing up for restaurants. Book restaurants early as well, means that rides are also a bit quieter when you come out, because everyone's going out for food. Yeah, so eat your meals earlier. The second tip I have on the same page as the food. Again, it depends where you're going, but Disneyland Paris, I don't think you generally are there for longer than like 3, maybe 4 days at a push. Maybe for Disney World it's a little bit different, because you want to go for 2 weeks, maybe more. But for Disneyland Paris, you're only there for a couple of days. So I learned this the hard way. Don't get caught up on the food your child is eating. Ellis is, like I said, 2.5. He is going through a major picky phase at the minute. Chips, beige food, bread, all the usual stuff that kids want to eat is all he wants to eat at the minute. He will eat other things if we sort of coerce him into it, which I'm not the biggest fan of doing, but you gotta do it sometimes. But yeah, he's not too keen on eating meals and things like that. If you have a picky kid, don't buy them meals. Don't do it. I spent, I think, 12 euros on like a 12 euros on like an Earl of sandwich for him, which is tomato, avocado and something else, I can't think of what it was. And he ate none of it, not even the bread, because the bread had been like absorbed with the tomato and stuff, and he wasn't keen, didn't eat any of it. So obviously Sean and I ate it, which wasn't the end of the world, but in the end he had some chips from McDonald's, and that was it. And I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna make my peace with the fact Ellis is gonna eat chips exclusively, essentially, apart from the snacks I brought, gonna eat chips exclusively for the next 2 days, and that's okay. He's not gonna die as long as he's eating something. I brought raisins and I bought bits and bobs of snacks that were healthy-ish, so be it. There's nothing you can do. If you just make your peace with the fact your kids are gonna eat rubbish. You're in Disney, just make the most of the fun you're having. Don't focus on what your kid's eating, just get them chips. They're happy, you're happy they've eaten, and they're not gonna be shouting at you that they're hungry. Just leave it be. Just don't worry about it, because honestly, 12 euros down the drain on that bloody sandwich. And then also, something that everyone knows about Disney, but just to remember, Disney is expensive. So when the food bill comes and you think, how much for a burger and chips? I'm not paying that. Don't worry about it and just go with it. Disney's expensive. You're not gonna find anything cheap unless you wanna come out of Disney and drive somewhere else to find something cheaper. Don't worry about the pricing. It takes a second to be like, oh my God, 70 euros for one lunch? Youch! But it's a buffet meal. They decided that's the price. There's nothing you're going to do about it. So yes, that's something that, I mean, I don't like the idea of it. When I sort of calculated how much money we spent, I was like, oh my God, that's so much money for literally like no time there at all, really. But you're there for the experience. You paid money to be there. Just enjoy it. Don't skimp out on food and things like that just because you want to save money. You're going to Disney, just be prepared to spend money on the food. The next tip is that Disney is no longer for you anymore. If you went as an adult to Disney, you will have your favourite rides, your favourite shows, your favourite things to do. When you have a kid, that they don't care. They don't care that Peter Pan is your favourite ride. They don't care that the fireworks are your favourite thing to see every night. They do not care. You are now on their schedule. And so don't push it. Obviously being pregnant, I couldn't go on many of the rides that I wanted to go on, like Hyperspace Mountain and things like that, which is fine. Ellis is 2.5 and can't go on them anyway. So that aside, things like the fireworks, I really wanted to see the fireworks. I thought Ellis would really enjoy it, but it got to about 5 o'clock or 5:36. And Ellis was getting crabby. And you know what, I was just like, you know what? This is not going to be fun for anyone at all if we stick around and see the fireworks. And we just were like, we'll see the fireworks another time. We'll come back in the future when he's older and we'll see fireworks another time. And it's fine, it's not the end of the world. Again, they don't know what they're missing. Although I know it's, you know, within a human being to be like, but the fireworks, you'll really like them. Don't push it, because you'll just make it miserable for yourself and miserable for them, which is miserable for everyone. So same with like rides and stuff. If they are not keen on a ride, don't force them to go on it, obviously. Even if you're so sure they'll like it, it's like, don't force it, because they'll scream the whole way through. We made that mistake. We thought Ellis would really like the Alice in Wonderland teacups. He would have done, but he was desperate for a nap. And we were just like, oh, the queue is short, we'll just hop on now while it's free. We went on it. He screamed the entire time round. People were watching us going, what is wrong with him? He lay on the seat inside the teacup and just screamed bloody murder. It was no fun at all. It was embarrassing. I didn't really care that much. I was just too busy focused on him. But you know, we're on a ride, we're meant to be having fun, and Ellis was just hating every second of it. So it was pointless, and we're a bit like, why do we do that? We should have just waited till later when he was feeling more refreshed after a nap in the buggy. So yes, Disney is no longer for you anymore. And it's all about sort of like character meets as well. The rides are great. Queuing for little kids is hard. So if there is a character meet you can do, which doesn't have a big wait, do that instead. I don't know what I thought before I went to Disneyland. I felt like I thought it would be sort of a place where I could sort of let Ellis go and let him run. But then I knew it would be busy, so I didn't want him to go run too far and disappear into thin air and then never see him again. But I definitely didn't really consider the amount of strapping in the buggy would happen with Ellis, which obviously, again, as a 2-year-old, he was furious about, because he didn't want to get in the buggy, out the buggy, in the buggy, out the buggy. He doesn't know where he's going. He doesn't know what the next thing is to do or see. A tip I would have is to kind of just take a step out of the Disney park and go to like Disney Springs, and let your kids sort of run. There's a stage in Disneyland, I think it was outside like the World of Disney shop, but Ellis just really loved just standing on that stage and running around, having a great time, dancing to the music. He just really like just let off steam there, and it was really fun to let him just go. And so I think that was a tip that I sort of noted within myself to be like, inside the Disney parks, he doesn't have as much freedom as you think he does, because he's just in the buggy, out of the buggy, in the queue, out the queue, in the buggy, and he just got a bit fed up with all. Whereas if you just go to like this place and just let them run, it helps you de-stress, have a coffee, sit down, let them run around, do what they want, and have the freedom of just being able to move. Ride-wise, avoid, like the plague, if you have little kids, Phantom Manor, the Snow White ride, and not so much Pirates of the Caribbean, possibly, it depends on how your kids are temperament-wise. I remember going on Phantom Manor when I was about 4 or 5 with my parents, and I was terrified. I spent the entire time my face in my mum's lap, absolutely crapping my pants at the Phantom Manor. The lift is scary, the queue is scary, nothing enjoyable happened in Phantom Manor when I was 4 years old. Even now, as an old woman, I don't particularly, I like the ride, but I have this like eerie feeling about it that I just don't really like it that much. It makes me feel a bit uncomfortable, probably because I was scarred for life from that one ride when I was 4 years old. We did go on Pirates of the Caribbean with Ellis. He did really enjoy it. He wasn't too keen on the drops, just obviously because he's new to rides, didn't understand the rides. Luckily Ellis was too young to kind of understand that it could be scary, because you know what pirates are at the minute. But if you have an older kid that's a bit wary of like animatronics and pirates and the darkness, Pirates of the Caribbean might not be the best, especially at the end, just saying, just like when you're waiting there for the boats to move endlessly to the exit. I don't know why they have so many boats sometimes. And Snow White, I think Pinocchio as well. Snow White and Pinocchio both are really creepy and are not kid friendly. I don't know why they're in Fantasyland. They need to redo those rides, they're not good. A tip that everyone knows, but I'm going to say it anyway, if you're staying on a Disney property, you get access to extra magic hours in the morning. Do not miss them. They are absolutely key. They will make your life 100% easier. If you have a kid like Ellis who wakes up early anyway, you should be up, you should be ready, you should be at that gate at opening time before the general population go in. Do not miss extra magic hours. I even thought to myself, you know what, I think it's better not having breakfast in the hotel, because it meant that we could be at the park earlier to make sure we got in the park as soon as it opened. Don't miss them. Especially rides like Peter Pan, where the queue is so long throughout the day, and the queue is boring too. Like, there's nothing to it at all, just walking up and down with a kid. It's boring, they don't want to do it. So get to the park, extra magic hours, and get in that Peter Pan queue or the Ratatouille queue. Get it over with, get those rides done, so you don't have to queue up again, because nothing worse than queuing up for like 50 minutes for Peter Pan. It gets over so quickly as well. And it's not worth the queue time, but it's such a good ride, so it's worth the extra magic hours. Don't miss it. I know it's a very common tip, but I'm just reiterating it. On the back of the extra magic hours tip, if you can, again, it depends on how busy the park is and how much the queue builds up, do rides twice. So we would literally get to the park, we did Peter Pan once, we got off it and we did it again, twice in a row. Then we came off it the second time, went to Dumbo, and I did it with Ellis once, and then Sean did it with Ellis once. Then we moved over to Buzz. We didn't do Buzz Lightyear ride twice because the stopping and starting in the ride drove me mad. I don't know why. It stops so much, it's infuriating, it ruins the whole concept of the ride, but that's neither here nor there. But anyway, do rides twice. We did the same thing with Ratatouille in the studios and Slinky Dog too. Do them twice, because then it gets like the excitement of your little kids out, because Ellis came off the ride and was like, again! And so I was like, you know what? There's not many people here. Let's do it again and get it over with. So therefore, we don't have that sort of annoyance of like, you know, I don't know, 2 hours later when we sort of done everything, now we're like, now what do we do? But the queue's really long and he wants to do it again. You know, if that makes sense. Doing it within the extra magic hours is key, because obviously it means you haven't got to queue up. Also, another good thing about doing the rides twice is that it sort of breaks up the whole constant in a buggy, out of the buggy thing. Do rides twice. This next tip is very much depending on your child, how well they listen, how good you are as a calm person. Me, as someone who's filled with anxiety and was constantly internally panicking, I don't exert my worries to anyone, but constantly panicked the whole time that Ellis was going to get kidnapped. Don't do the maze in Alice in Wonderland. I did it and it was fine until Ellis sort of just ran off, and I was just like, oh my god, my worst nightmare has come true. I'm going to walk around this corner, which goes on forever, when he's walking, and he's not going to be there, and I'm never going to see him again. absolute terrified me. Don't do the maze if you have my sort of mentality of kidnapping, or if your kid doesn't listen. Maybe if you have a leash, that could work. That sort of takes away the fun, I guess, of a maze. I don't know. Yeah, as from looking back at the footage of the maze, I vlogged it. From looking back on the footage, I can just hear myself screaming internally as I'm filming, like, oh, where is he? Oh, where is he? So just beware, the maze is not so good for anxious people or for people who worry their child will be kidnapped. Bit of a random one there, but that's a good tip for you. It's fun to let your kid run. If there's 2 or more adults, maybe it'd be good to go ahead so you can catch them, they can run into you, as opposed to me and Sean just walking slowly behind, and it just went, and we were like, oh, he's gone. But we found him, it was all okay, he did stop and wait, but yeah, there was a couple of moments where I was just like, my baby is gone. A very niche one, if you are pregnant, you can get a Priority Wristband from the town hall inside the Disneyland park, and I believe, I don't know, there is a place inside the Studios park, I think it's when you walk in, probably one of the information bits when you walk in. Get the wristband if you are pregnant. I showed them my maternity exemption certificate on my phone, and yes, I got a little wristband, had a thumper on it, and it meant I could go in the exits for meeting characters, jumping the queues, which was a lifesaver, especially character meets like Sully and Goofy, where the queues were quite long. So yes, lifesaver, and also gives you priority seating for the parades and fireworks. You saw more or less at the front of the parade by the castle on the left-hand side. I didn't see the fireworks, so I don't know where you sit for that, but I would assume it'd be in a similar sort of situation. And yes, highly recommend it. I didn't realise this until the end of the only full day we were there for, which was annoying because we queued 40 minutes to meet Mickey Mouse, not the end of the world. But yes, get the Priority Pass. And then my final 2 tips are like a couple of packing tips. As I've now been a mum for 2 years, you think I would know better, but I didn't. Bring a plastic bag or a Ziploc bag or a wet bag or something in your suitcase. I did not do that. And so our first night, Ellis had an accident in his pajamas. I only brought 1 set of pajamas because I said to myself, we're only there 2 nights, we don't need more than 1 set of pajamas. Well, he was sleeping in his clothes that same night and the next night because he wet through his pajamas and there was nothing that could be done. So that was my mistake, and I should have brought a wet bag because I had nowhere to put the stuff. So I had to hang over the radiator. Thankfully it did dry, but obviously that happened on the day we were leaving. That would have been wildly inconvenient. So yes, big mum fail there. Make sure you bring 2 sets of pajamas no matter what, and a wet bag. And something I did do, download your kids, if you have a Kindle, which we have, or an iPad or a phone for example, make sure you download your kids' favourite TV shows or films or something on the devices, because obviously if you're waiting in the queue you can just whip out your phone and give it to a kid if they're starting to get a bit restless, or on the train journeys, just for any reason at all, you fancy in a restaurant, whenever you fancy it. Make sure you have things ready to go. Again, similar to my tip about food, it's just a couple of days. It doesn't matter if they have more screen time than normal. It's just the way it is. Just get through the hard times in Disney. Food and entertainment are key. Do not stress yourself out about what they're eating and if they are bored or not, or tantrums or things. Just literally give them what they want. It is just a couple of days. You go back home, you get back into normal routine. The kid is not going to be ruined for life for having chips or too much screen time for 2 to 3, maybe 4 days. Like I said, if you're going to like Florida for like 2 to 3 weeks, you may want to smidge that a little bit, but for a couple of days, you're all good. Bring a million snacks. You can't have too many snacks, especially if you're going on the Eurostar. Pack as many snacks as you possibly can, which your kid will eat, or even yourself will eat, because you will go through them. We went through a whole pack of, like a 6-pack of crisps, a million of, we went through like 12 croissants, big pack of raisins, 10 chewy bar things. This was just for 2 days. And I mean it, just bring snacks. It will be a lifesaver. It keeps the kid quiet, keeps the kid happy. And again, it makes you feel like they are actually eating something other than carbs and grease. So yes, that's my tips. I don't know how many that was. I'm sure it's more than 10. Hope it's been helpful. Hope it's been absolutely useful to you. Hope I haven't rambled too much. Hope my voice hasn't annoyed you. But yeah, we can't wait to go back to Disneyland Paris. When we went to Disneyland Paris a few years ago, we were like, we're never coming back here again. We don't really like it that much. It was just me and Sean. We weren't too keen, and we were a bit, I don't know, the magic wasn't there for us. Now we've gone with Ellis. We see the magic. The journey there was awful. and Journey Back was awful, but that's not Disney's fault, that's Eurostar's fault for not being direct when it should have been. We are probably gonna buy an annual pass next time we go, whenever that is. It won't be anytime soon because obviously baby number 2 is still a cooking, and so there's no point in going until he or she has arrived and is old enough to not be a newborn. So yeah, so we won't be going again for a little while, but when we do go, we probably will become annual pass holders because we did really enjoy it. The magic with a child is just unbelievable. Seeing the parade through Ellis's eyes made me well up. I nearly like burst into tears when he was so excited about seeing all of his favourite characters. It was just amazing. So yes, I highly recommend Disneyland Paris. It is expensive, but if you are a big Disney fan yourself, and your kid likes Disney, I highly recommend you do it. So yes, that is all for me for today. If you have liked this video, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Hit subscribe if you fancy it, and I will see you in my next one. Goodbye.